All right, now we're gonna start assembling some of the stuff on the front of the motor. First, the oil pump drive gear. I think that's what this is called. This section with the lip goes towards the motor. The flat side goes out. A little bit of assembly lube on the inside and it should slide right on. If you don't put lube on it, it's gonna be pretty hard to get it on there. Once you get it on, it should spin around freely. Next is gonna be our drive gear. I think this is for the oil pump, yeah. A little bit of assembly lube on the collar there. I'm gonna rub it in and then slide it in here. As you slide it in, make sure the gears line up, the teeth on here with the teeth on here. All right, got that smeared on. There we go. Next is gonna be this crank sensor wheel. I'm gonna put a little bit of lube on the inside, probably not absolutely necessary. A little lube never hurt anybody. This one does have a key mark. Make sure it lines up with the keys in the crank. There we go. Perfect. I'm gonna slide that all the way back. Now we've got this gear. I honestly don't know what the name of it is, but it goes with this beveled edge outwards, and it also does line up with the key. I've got a little bit of assembly lube on the inside. Gonna get it lined up. Boom, right there. Now I've got my timing guide on. Oh, a little bit of Loctite drip in there. So, reusing the same bolts, spray them down with some parts cleaner. I also have this little oil squirter back on with the bolt that goes there. Loctite on that bolt as well, just a little bit. All three of these are gonna be 14 foot-pounds. Set my torque wrench to 14. All right. All right, now I'm gonna put this other timing chain guide on. This is the bolt that goes in the bottom, if you don't remember where it went. I put some assembly lube on the collar of it there because this thing does move around. Want to get it pre-lubricated. Then once you get it through, I'm gonna clean up these threads a little bit. They're clean, but just to wipe any grease off of them with a towel, put a little bit of Loctite on them as well. All right, got that little Allen head bolt on. Got it started. I've got my torque wrench with a 10mm hex head. Got it set to 51 foot-pounds. Let's get that torque down. All right, we got that one done. All right, now I've got my new timing chain on and the sprocket at the top. So here's how you line it up. You've got one little black link and the timing chain up here. You wanna make sure it lines up with that dot, which is also lined up with this second groove. And then at the bottom, you wanna make sure that the black link lines up with the key. And also there's a dot on the sprocket that this just went on. So make sure that lines up as well. Then, to keep everything in place, what I did is place a couple zip ties here. I just wanted zip ties at the bottommost holes before they start reaching the timing chain guides. Then one in the middle of the timing chain guides to keep them together. Then finally, one down here to keep this piece together. That way, nothing moves, nothing slips. It's all gonna stay in place until you're ready to take those off. Got the front timing cover degreased, pressure washed, degreased again, degreaser plus steel wool, then pressure washed again. This is about as good as it's gonna get. I know some of you in the comments are gonna say, why don't you just get a new one? You can still buy them. Really didn't feel like it because I wanted to get it down to where it was clean, see if it's in good shape, and it is in good shape. So we're gonna reuse it. There's no point throwing it away if all it needs is some cleaning. I blew it off real good with compressed air, but it's got a little bit of water droplets here and there. I'm just going through to make sure all of the flat surfaces are flat, no gouges or cuts or anything like that. That would make it either unusable or require a little bit of cleanup work, but overall, it's pretty good. All right, so we're gonna give this thing a minute to dry. Got it right here on top of a block of wood so that we can bang on this. Here's the new front main crank seal. That is the part number. Now what we're gonna do is put a little bit of oil on the edge of this. Got my little oil squirter that I use whenever I'm assembling things. I'm just gonna get a dab, squirt it out, and put it on there by hand. A little bit on the inside of this, that way it goes in smoothly. This seal is the same all the way around. It's not directional. Now let me show you the secret tool, super fancy top secret tool that's gonna make this easier. A PVC end cap, like this. It's a 2-inch end cap. Let me see. Can we see it on there? PVC, 2-inch, you see that? All right, grab yourself one of these. It will fit really nicely over this, so you're not banging on that seal and damaging it. And that way, you can just put this on and gently tap all around until it goes in. I only got one hand and I don't have my tripod, so the other thing you want to know is when you're tapping this in with the PVC end cap, it's very easy to just get one side start going in there and then it's sitting at an angle and the other side's not wanting to go in. If that happens, pull it out and start over. Don't keep banging on it. Pull it out and start over, because it's a very good chance you're going to damage one side or the other side of the seal if you do that and it gets kind of cockeyed and doesn't go in straight. So put some lubricant on it. That'll make your life easier. Oh God, my fingernails are so dirty. That's what I get for forgetting to wear gloves when I'm using degreaser and super dirty parts. Oof. I gotta go clean these later. I got a little bit of oil on there and on there. Now I'm gonna put it here, put my little PVC end cap on, and tap, tap, tap all around it until it starts going in evenly, and then tap it in all the way. Now, at the very bottom here, you'll notice there's a lip. So tap till this thing goes all the way down to that lip. If it hasn't bottomed out, you haven't gotten it in all the way. So we've got it started. It's not all the way down. You can still see it sticking up, but it's nice and even. And that way, you don't have one side pushing in before the other side has a chance to go in. So now that it's about 2/3 the way in, I'm just gonna put this back on and tap all the way around until I hear it bottom out, and then I'll give it a couple quick whacks in the middle. Now we've got it in, or at least we think we do. Probably is fine, but what we wanna do is flip it over and then check the edge and make sure it's bottomed out against that flat surface on the bottom. Check it all the way around, that side, make sure it's good, and once you're sure, you're all done with this part. Now I've got my 2 new O-rings. Smaller one goes right there, bigger one goes right here. Now, here's the fun part. If it's the first time you're doing this, you're like, wait a second, this O-ring looks like it's too big. And you'll put this one in, and you'll be like, wait a second, this one looks like it's too big. Yeah, that's normal. That's just how they are. You kind of have to wiggle it a little bit and just get it to sit in there. Oop, not yet. Is it in? Nope, not that part. Here, let me do this one. Yeah, so just make sure the edges are in and it's sitting in there and it's even. And this one, did I get it? This is hard holding a camera. Hang on. All right, there it is. It's hard to tell on video just because there's like some staining on the metal here, but it is in, it is even. If you look at it from the side, you can kind of tell. There's some shadows there, but it's even. Rub your hand across it. Make sure it's not popping out when you're touching it, because you don't want this thing to pop out when you're trying to assemble this whole thing. One more step before this thing's ready to go on. All of these grooves here, see these grooves? These right here, right there, all the way around, up to here. Don't forget that one, right there. All of those, you've got to put the Toyota, essentially gasket maker, in a tube. Make sure you use the right one, don't use the one off the shelf, If you're in a bind and you absolutely have to use the stuff from the auto parts store, that's fine, go ahead. But this stuff does work better. It is worth the extra couple bucks. There's different kinds of Toyota FIPG, form in place gasket is what that stands for. Make sure you're using the correct one based on what kind of fluid it's going to come in contact with. A lot of people, even some mechanics, don't know that. There's different kinds of FIPG. This is the one that you want to use on these types of parts that are going to come in contact with motor oil. It's the one that's 103. Here is the Toyota part number. Hit pause, write it down. It says for oil pan, camshaft housing, professional use, blah, blah, blah. All right, this one is used. Use it a few times. I'm gonna pull out that dry FIPG, pop it on here, and then we'll squeeze a little bead along all of those lines. All right, there we go. I got a little messy in some spots, but that's all you need. Don't get too clumpy. Don't try to smear it on all our surfaces. That's it. Now we're back at our engine block here. I've got my timing cover ready to go. Get your bolts ready to go. And make sure you don't have your crank bolt in. Make sure you've got nothing that is obstructing any of this. I've got this zip tie right here. What I'm gonna do is put a couple zip ties here and here and remove that one, and then we'll put the timing cover on. There we go. Now we've got nothing else in the way, and we should be good to put on our timing cover. Now, when you're getting this lined up, obviously your crank goes in there. That's your main point. You've got a dowel pin right here to help you get it in place. And you've got another dowel pin right there. So use those as guides after you get the main, the end of the crank into the front main seal. Use those two as guides to line things up. Once you've got it on there, that dowel's lined up so you don't have a gap. That dowel at the bottom is lined up. Down there, you don't have a gap. Just give it a little push in all the different corners. Right here and right here. One thing I didn't get to show you on camera is as you're getting this thing lined up, before it starts getting too close, just take one last peek in there and make sure your O-rings are still in place. Sometimes they'll move and budge and you've got to go back and get things straightened out. So that's it. Now I'm gonna get my bolts on there. I'm gonna use a little bit of medium blue Loctite. That way the bolts don't have any sort of chance of backing out. And then once I get them all started, then I'll start tightening them down. We've got those primary bolts on here, 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 right there, and right there. Get those all torqued down to about 15.5 foot-pounds. I don't remember what the exact torque spec is in the book for 12mm bolts of this size. Holding something aluminum, I'm usually around 15.5. I bet you it's either 15 or 16 in the assembly manual from the factory. So get those torqued down. Take your time. You've got somewhere between 3 to 4 minutes for that gasket material. I've taken like my time. I took even longer than that, and you can see a little bit squished out, and it's still, it's still tacky enough to where it'll form. You don't want to wait forever. Don't wait 10 minutes, but within 2, 3, 4 minutes, get it in place, have your bolts ready to go, and get it all torqued down. Next thing we're going to do is get our oil pump assembled again. You need these two pieces, this outside one, this inside one. Get them put together. And we're gently going to put it in there, turn until we find the spot, and then this guy, you're going to have to rotate it till it lines up with the hole there. Perfect. Now we're going to go grab the O-ring that goes right here and all of the brand new screws for the oil pump. The factory screws are Phillips head. I already threw those away. Oh, I've got the pump cover cleanup too. This thing was filthy. You can replace the factory ones with these Phillips head, or I'm sorry, you can replace the factory Phillips head ones with these Allen head bolts. Make sure you get the right ones. There's a few Land Cruiser shops that sell you the kit with the right tool and everything. I'm not going to use this. I'm going to use a regular Allen head. Here is the O-ring that you're going to use. It goes in this groove. Takes a minute to get it in there correctly. Take your time, get it in there. Make sure it's not going to wiggle out. Then we'll line up our pump cover and we'll start putting the bolts on. Now, a lot of people prefer to put a little dab of grease or something on there to help keep this in place so it doesn't keep trying to fall out. You can do that. I always like to try to put it in first without any grease, and if it needs grease, then we can grab some, put a little dab here and there, and help it stay in place. Yeah, this one might need it. So I'm not gonna use grease, I'm gonna use assembly lube, since I've got it already, because this stuff is super sticky and it'll help it stay on. Assembly lube for the win. I also squirted some assembly lube in the little slots there to give it a little bit of lubrication upon first startup. All right, now we're gonna get our pump cover. Take an eyeball and make sure you check the flat surface, make sure it's clean, no gunky stuff on there. And we're gonna line it up like that. And then I'm gonna start with one screw there and one screw here, just to get two at the opposite corners of the top, hold it in place, then I'll put the other ones on, make them hand tight, and then go back and torque them. There we go, that's on. This is gonna bug me. This is the top of the motor, and I didn't get that part very clean on the edge. I'm gonna go back and just hit that with some steel wool and degreaser later. Not right now, that's gonna bother me. Now I'm working on the oil cooler. Got it cleaned up as best as I could with some degreaser and stuff. It was like everything else on this truck, really filthy. Got the oil cooler disassembled, so those studs go through, and there's two nuts here, two nuts here. That's what holds it on. These are the old gaskets. Now we got two brand new gaskets. This is the part number, comes with two of them. Hit pause, write it down if you need them. So we are going to put the new gaskets on. If you see, they've got a little tab right there. So when I took the old ones off, the tab was right here and right here. I don't think that matters, but I'm gonna put them back in the same exact spot. And there was a little bit of residue on there. I got that wiped off. All right, so, I guess there's a tab on both corners. All right, so these washers, if you notice, there's little ridges on them. You see them? And those crush down and help it seal whenever you tighten them down. Look at the old ones, the ridges are all but gone. You can see the remnants of them, but if you touch them, they're flat. So you don't want to reuse these gaskets. If you ever take these types of gaskets on, they're metal. They look like they can be reused. And if you're in the middle of nowhere, can you reuse them? Probably, but try not to. So I got those two on. We're gonna get this laid back on top of here. Those are gonna seal here and here, and we'll be able to get this back together. All right, got it laid on there. Gonna use the same 4 nuts, get them on. And while I'm doing this, let me tell you here something. This oil cooler is really awesome. It cools the oil with the coolant in the truck. Really effective, really great. That's part of the reason you can take these things to the desert where it's 120 degrees out and run them, and the oil temperatures don't go too far out of whack. And the other thing, it also helps the oil come up to temperature quicker because the coolant will get warm faster than the oil. So in cold weather, when the coolant starts getting warm with the engine operating, this will actually help warm up the oil up to operating temperature. Really neat design. Just thought I'd share that neat little fact. So just want to make sure this is nice and solid. Now I'm going to flip it back over, grab my torque wrench, and we're going to do, I got to set the torque rating. We're going to do 15 foot-pounds on each of these 4 nuts. Those are all done. Let's go get the gasket that sits between this surface and the block. All right, it is this guy right here. There's the part number. Hit pause, write it down.